I think the first thing I want to emphasize when we're talking about a relationship-centered classroom is that it's community over content. And that's hard for educators to hear when you have so much to get through. I mean, particularly in our current, pandemic context, with students, not in school, learning virtually, whatever context that you might be in. And I want to emphasize it's not community in lieu of content. It's that you have to prioritize that community building right from the start to ultimately create the conditions for learning. And in my second book, SEL Every Day, I developed sort of this building your SEL house analogy with my colleague James Gallagher, and the blueprint and foundation for building your SEL house is literally creating the conditions for learning through, the community, the relationships, and the environment that you're establishing. So right at the start of the year, really taking that time out to create a sense of connection amongst your students. Let them know a little bit about who you are. In my book, I talk about the strategy of skillful self-disclosure, right? Knowing what to share, when, and why that's important. So your students know that you're a human and that you also take the time. When I was in the classroom, I used to actually have all of my students write me a letter about themselves. And I had written a letter to them modeling, where I grew up, where I went to college, what some of my favorite things to do are, what some of my learning challenges are, all these things. And then each student, and, I was in secondary, so sometimes I'd get 100 letters back. Took a lot of time at the start of the year, but I wrote a personal letter back to each student reflecting, on what they shared that resonated with me. And that was so critical in establishing those relationships at the start of the school year. And the time invested up front really paid off throughout the year because there was a sense of like mutual respect and connection. And it was a game changer for me to really take that time at the start of the school year to share a little bit about who I am, but to really understand who my students are.
That's beautiful. And it reminds me of the time that I was teaching in California, and my instructional coach gave me this advice, particularly with students I was having difficulty connecting with. He said, give 2 minutes of your time every day for 2 weeks and just talk to them, smile at them, talk about how your day was, talk about something you did over the weekend. 2 minutes of positive interaction for 2 weeks. And over time, when I did implement that, I found that it created a relationship that was not just limited to the classroom between me and these specific students. And like you pointed out, I think made explicit the humanity that teachers and students both share.
Definitely. Well, that was a great tip that your instructional coach gave you.